If you followed this channel, you'll know that I enjoy farming sims, and I've covered a few of them, and there are others that I have my eye on in the future. One of the games I did cover a while back was the early access version of Tales of Seikyu, a fantasy farming sim with an eastern twist to it, inspired by games such as Rune Factory. Now that the game has entered 1.0, which I consider full release, I think it's time to come back to it and see how things have changed. If you want to check out the early access review on it, you can do so here or at the end of the video, and I will be referring to it throughout this review so you can compare. Now, because the game is in 1.0 doesn't necessarily mean that there's no more content for the game, but this video will cover the 1.035 release through to 1.059, and I generally play one in-game year in order to get a fair look at how the game presents itself. Throughout this review, you'll also see late game footage out of context, and for transparency, I was provided a code for this game when it was in early access, courtesy of the game's publisher, Fireshine Games. Tales of Seikyu takes place in the land of Seikyu, a place hidden far away from humans, populated by supernatural beings known as yokai, as most of, if not all of them, are Japanese in origin. You play the role of a male or female character travelling to the island with their sister Kon. Both of you are from the Fox clan and have gone to Seikyu to find out more about your missing parents and what had happened to the Fox clan, with a scrap of paper from your parents as your only clue. Shortly after arriving in port, you meet Yui Oda, the mayor of the local settlement, who proceeds to show you around and ultimately escorts you to the farmhouse that you had bought before arriving. After that, your life in Seikyu begins with you tending to the farm grounds, growing crops, looking after animals, getting to know the townsfolk and forging friendships which could potentially blossom to romance, all the while exploring the local ruins to find out why the Fox clan had disappeared. Unlike early access, the game's main story is complete from start to finish, so you can now get to the bottom of the mystery. But is the game any good? Find out in The Good. The game's mechanics are still very solid. As members of the Fox clan, you'll be able to transform into different yokai through the use of different transformation scrolls. While early access allowed you to transform into a boar, a slime and a tengu, the full release adds the Yuki Onna, as well as, funny enough, the fox, because despite being members of the Fox clan, you aren't initially able to transform into a fox, while Kon is stuck in her fox form and unable to transform into a human. Each form has its own benefits and can even be used to help out on the farm, with the likes of the boar form clearing and tilling the land, and the slime form for watering crops, replacing your initial watering can, for example. Other forms can be used to access areas, such as the slime form for climbing waterfalls and exploring underwater, while the tengu can glide great distances and the Yuki Onna can levitate. The fox form can take over enemies, and with it you can tame them to either sell for money or keep on your farm in order to get materials from them. The game also encourages you to explore the Fox ruins, as not only is it crucial to the plot, but you can also get items which alongside money are required for you to upgrade each form. Each upgrade provides benefits specific to that form, as well as base stat increases for your main character. Outside your farm in the town, you'll also be engaging in combat against monsters that roam the land and the ruins, and this is where the game reminds me of the Rune Factory games. In town, you can talk to the townsfolk or give them gifts, check the bulletin board to see if anyone needs help, or rummage through everyone's garbage to get seeds or things to cook or sell. Befriending the townsfolk will unlock little events with them where you get to know them better, and the game features 18 love interests that you can romance regardless of gender. The game is very generous when it comes to the passing of time, with you being able to control how fast the day passes, and admittedly I kept that at 1.0 for my playthrough, though you can change it up to 3.0 if you want it to be faster, or 0.1 if you want it to be slower. The game's combat difficulty can be adjusted if you want to relax through the story with weaker monsters, or have stronger monsters that hit harder. The game also has a lot of crafting and cooking options, and gathering materials to cook or craft has been pretty easy, albeit time consuming. I do recommend cooking, as food will replenish not only your health but your energy, which you'll be using throughout the day, especially in combat. Crafting and cooking can also allow you to make things that people will like as gifts, things you can decorate and customize your home with, and some can even generate or duplicate materials for you to make things easier, especially with getting late game materials earlier. The gameplay mechanics is definitely one of its strong points, and it's only gotten better since early access, with the game also addressing and fixing the bugs I had back then. While I do still get the very rare one where I get stuck and have to unstuck myself through the game's menu, and one where a crucial character was stuck outside my house for the day, forcing the game's camera to be stuck when heading out to the fields, I had a reasonably bug-free experience. I think the game's story was pretty good too. There is no great sense of urgency, and so you can progress the story at your own pace if you want to focus on exploring and farming, though accessing parts of the ruins are locked behind the main story. There is a lot to do, and I found that the game did keep me busy with something new happening on an almost daily basis. I took my time and was able to complete the main story by autumn of the first year, but there were still events with the townsfolk that kept happening right through into winter to keep my interest. Getting to know the inhabitants of Seikyu was a highlight of playing through the game, as characters have their own quirks, hobbies, challenges and schedules, and there were even a couple new characters appear over the course of my time with the game, which I liked too. I can also see that the developers had also remedied the issues I had around gift giving from early access, with it now consistently allowing you to give a character one gift per day, and even special dialogue if you give them a gift on their birthday, which was really neat too. I thoroughly enjoyed playing through the game's story, and I liked the inhabitants of Seikyu, though there are parts I wasn't as keen on, which I'll talk about later. As I stated in the early access review, the game is visually pleasing, and now that I can access the full island, I really like the look of the locations on it. Some have clear seasonal aesthetics, and it's still breathtaking seeing the town or other landmarks from a distance, draw distance depending of course. While the models I feel still don't match the quality of the game's 2D portraits, I think that they are more refined from early access and slightly more expressive, which I appreciate. There is a very cozy feel to the game's visuals, and it is something the developers have nailed very well. However, the game is not perfect, so now that we've gotten what I've liked out of the way, let's look at what I didn't like in the bad. The game has several permanent decisions, and I can't say I particularly agree on them too much. The story related ones I feel don't have a huge impact, and they relate to the opening of the casino and bar. One of the things that Kababa, the person who is heading the project, has requested is for the fox seal that you can find in the ruins to help fund it. You can choose to hand over the seal, or not. Regardless, the casino and bar can still be built with you contributing a donation of money, which is easy to earn should you choose not to hand over the seal. The other permanent decisions I really didn't like revolved around romancing the characters. I like to know everyone in the game first before deciding, and the hard events for the love interests ultimately force you into a mandatory decision of whether you choose to pursue a romance or stay as friends, with you being unable to, understandably, change your mind once you pick. While you can have multiple love interests, as I found out far too late, there is jealousy dialogue between them, though other than that nothing particularly bad as such, and once you decide who to marry, the other interests will change to being friends, which is fine, though it would be nice to have gone with the approach other farming sims have adopted, and have you as the player character initiate the relationship instead of forcing it as a permanent decision during an event, as I have triggered some of them without even fully realising it. While this is no criticism of the hard events themselves, as I really liked getting to know everyone, I think giving the player the choice to start the relationship with someone after seeing all of their events at any given time, or even the option of changing your mind would be more preferable than railroading you to choose yes or no and keeping that decision permanent. There were also a few events that also prevented me from even giving gifts to a character to raise friendships with them. One such example was an event for Yui where you have to get some items for her. Until you do, you won't be able to gift her with anything, even on her birthday or to fulfill requests until you've completed that event. Here's hoping this possibly gets addressed or remediated in future. For transparency, turns out that while I was editing this video, the developers released version 1.15, and with it comes the option to cancel your relationship or marriage if you choose to pick someone else. So it turns out the devs were listening, and you can now disregard this particular issue. While I enjoyed the game's visuals, the island itself is still pretty empty. You can see there are large empty areas around the edge of the island, and even the island with the lighthouse on it is pretty bare, being only populated with enemies to kill and having a shortcut to the ruins that you unlock through story progression. I think more landmarks or locations would have made exploring the island more fun. Maybe even have the ruins as several locations instead of the one big one, and you have to explore all the different ruins to piece together the story would have been nice, and would even make sense having those ruins in the different seasonal areas. I think something like this could have padded out the game a bit better. The game's combat could probably use a little bit of polish. I found combat can get quite clunky, and even with the ability to dodge, using it in battle felt clunky too. The game's range of weapons is pretty limited as well, and you'll generally get one of the strongest weapons in the game if you befriend the blacksmith, with little reason to look at investing in other weapons once you get it. I think if the game allowed you to customise your weapons, that could have added a new layer of complexity to the game's mechanics, or even if you helped the blacksmith make something even better, as this ties into his storyline. I think it could have worked well for it. The other thing I wasn't fond of is the game's severe lack of festivals. Early access only had one in spring, and since then there'd only been one more festival added, and that's in autumn. I think a festival for each season at least would have livened up the game a little more, as while it does an excellent job of allowing you to get to know the townsfolk better and how they interact with one another, I feel more festivals to show how everyone celebrates major events would have made the game more exciting. A cooking, crafting or fishing contest would have also made for neat little events to pad things out between major festivals too, and would hopefully keep things entertaining, especially once you get to post-game and there's no extra story or townsfolk content to keep you busy. Other than that, I think I've complained enough, so let's wrap things up with the opinion. Tales of Seikyu is still a game I had a lot of fun with. 1.0 was a little rough around the edges, and while I wasn't keen with the permanent decisions, though thankfully this was fixed with version 1.15 while I was editing the review, how empty the island still is, polish in combat, and lack of festivals or contests, the game does make up for it with its cast and their development over getting to know them keeping me busy, the game mechanics, especially its accessibility and how each transformation can be used outside of combat and to even help on the farm, and the game's story. I'm sure there's probably still more content coming out for the game, and here's hoping this addresses the issues I've had since the developers have done an excellent job with the game, and a lot of the issues I had in early access have since been fixed. If you like Rune Factory, then I think this game would be right up your alley. Faults and all, I still really enjoyed the game, and here's to seeing what else the developers might have in store in future. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Tales of Seikyu a Swiss cheese plant out of 10. Sorry if you were thinking that it would be turnip related. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to like, comment and subscribe for more. You can check out our other videos or follow us on X, Instagram and Facebook. Once again, thank you for watching.